So one of my favorite YouTube series is the Fighting Game is Broken, fill in the blank YouTube series. So it started off with Super Turbo is Broken by Guile Winquote. He also went on to do Third Strike is Broken, when the mantle was picking up by Big Lightning here with Ultra Street Fighter 4 is Broken for covering the Street Fighter series. And now we have the latest entry, Street Fighter 5 is Broken. And despite what this watch time bar will tell you, I watched about 5 seconds of it and stopped because I figured this is the game where I finally have enough of experience and enough expertise to offer some insight to. So we're gonna go ahead and watch is Street Fighter 5 broken or not, and see what Big Lightning has to say about Street Fighter 5, a game that for many people is the reason why you're even watching this stream or watching this channel at all. Street Fighter 5 released in 2016. Expertly evolved the genre with cool mechanics and characters. Most players still look back on it fondly as a true peak of Street Fighter. Yeah. This is where I stopped the video the first time. Man, it's 2025 and we still can't get past year one Street Fighter 5. That's why I say first impressions are too powerful. They're too powerful. Absolutely, Season 1 Street Fighter 5 was an abomination and grounds potentially for a class action lawsuit. However, with the constant patches and updates and content DLCs delivered to the game, by 2020, the game was really good. And I think Endgame Street Fighter 5 is one of my favorite iterations of Street Fighter, period. So I really feel like Street Fighter 5 was very good. And the neutral for Endgame Street Fighter 5 was some of the best neutral in any Street Fighter that I played. I really enjoyed Endgame Street Fighter 5. But that first impression will last forever. Rush counters. A very divisive mechanic. Very divisive. What up, Daniel? Yeah, they were strong pokes. Almost always lead to a strong combo. Were there any crush counters that were just bad? Generally, most crush counters were strong pokes, and they did lead to strong combos. Yes, that was often the draw of the vast majority of crush counters. They also had different knockback effects depending on the style, right? The spin out crush counters like this, which caused the grounded spin for a full combo. Some of them caused the aerial tail spin, which had more situational pickup confirms. But generally, they all led to decent combos. Some of them weaker than others. Sometimes like an Ibuki Sin heavy kick would only grant you like a light DP or something of that sort. This was definitely a big point of contention for a lot of people getting into Street Fighter 5 that I think got ironed out. And also they started to add more and more recovery and increased hurt boxes on these normals later on in the game. But in early seasons, yeah, people were spamming these moves and getting big wins. Just spamming them for sure. Was Street Fighter 5 bad the whole time? No. Was Street Fighter 5 also the worst melee Street Fighter game ever? Also, yes. I firmly disagree. Also, Street Fighter 1 is right there, brother. I think Street Fighter 5 was actually amazing at the end. What's worse is that some oppressive pressure normals can crush counter. Well, that's a matter of perspective, I think. Yeah, definitely big punish counter sort of starter option. So this was the precursor to the punish counter mechanic. They started adding things like counter hit recovery on uppercuts and reversals so that you could get your crush counter to punish reversals. That sort of concept of counter hit recovery, which eventually became punish counter, was present in the reversal system of Street Fighter 5, which I believe was added. That wasn't in Season 1. They added this recovery of counter hit recovery to reversals later on because they kept nerfing reversals as time went on. And so when they added that, your crush counter became a huge combo starter when you would punish an invincible reversal. Characters without good crush counters typically struggle with a lot of poking. These moves are insanely strong and dominate the neutral. Nah, I disagree. This is a Season 1 ass take. The best characters in the game at the end were characters like Luke, Dhalsim, and Poison. They were kind of bad. Yeah, all these examples, by the way, this Urien Heavy Punch was severely nerfed as well, had increased hurt boxes also. Abigail had increased hurt boxes. Characters like Cammy were really good also, which didn't have good crush counters. This move was insanely whiff punishable by the end. This was busted in Season 3, though. That's the problem with these kind of perspectives, right? This move was extremely broken at one point. By the end of the game, this move was a free massive whiff punish combo. This was a huge liability to press because all these moves that had these problems originally, season by season, they kept nerfing by adding recovery and extended hurt boxes. And also, like I mentioned before, the scaling on how these moves would operate when you actually got the hit was the reward was constantly nerfed and nerfed as well. Bison down forward heavy might have been annoying as fuck the whole time, though. That move was hella annoying. Yeah, priority system. Yeah. Yeah, the frame data was designed around this so that you can structure your strings differently. I have mixed opinions on the priority system because to me, the priority system is also baked into the frame data. Your frame traps are essentially designed around the priority system because it almost in effect makes it so that your medium or heavy buttons hit a frame sooner. I think in the end, it added unnecessary complexity to the frame data design, but it did allow you to design different types of frame traps and how you structure the frame data. Because in a situation where a medium would normally trade, instead you would get a clean counter hit, that could allow you to leave a certain normal not as plus, but still allow for an effective frame trap. So it did influence kind of how you could design the game. I can't think of a great example of how that would make a big impact off the top of my head. A lot of people didn't jive with this system up front, and I do agree it compounded the initial issues with crush counters for sure, because your crush counters would just win instead of trading in a lot of situations. So they got rid of this system in Street Fighter 6, but I'm a little mixed on it. I don't think it's inherently a bad thing, but it adds a weird level of complexity, and it's a weird layer that a lot of people don't jive with when they look at it. But I do think it allows you to create frame trap strings, but also limit the plus frames at the same time. A move could be less plus, which means you have less options to stagger with or to go for tick throw pressure, but it can still then allow a clean frame trap where without the priority system, you would trade instead of getting that clean frame trap. So it just changes how you structure the pressure, in my opinion. Netcode was a huge issue. That one always makes me laugh. I have a clip just like this. I literally have a clip just like this. I have one also with Ryu where he does like a donkey kick or some forward advancing move and it cancels and he goes into like a demon flip and lands on me. I think what happened here, Street Fighter V Netcode was really bad because it failed to handle the most common scenario, which was PS4 Wi-Fi. Something fundamentally about the netcode just did not operate correctly for lower spec hardware and Wi-Fi, because the moment you got desynced, it failed to resync the netcode. In the end, in the post-COVID era, the competitive scene I felt like was really stable on PC-only hardwire connections in region-locked tournaments. So the problem is you had to do all these layers to ensure a good experience. 2020 and beyond, we had a lot of constant online tournaments, and I felt like they were extremely good. And the input delay on PC was significantly lower than on PS4. And what ended up happening is the PC online tournaments started to feel more competitive in some situations than PS4 offline tournaments, which was nuts. This is when the big divide between optimized PC and PS4 really began, which has extended into the Street Fighter 6 era. Pre-COVID, for the competitive player base and the average player base, like the more casual fans, you were mixed with a lot of people on PS4 Wi-Fi. And PS4, when that overheated, there's a big debate right now if when PS5s overheat, if it causes actual frame slowdowns in Street Fighter 6. And there's some data that suggests that it doesn't, by the way. But PS4 would factually slow down the game if it was overloaded or starting to overheat. You would see the delay, especially if there's a lot of particle effects on screen, if you're doing like M. Bison special moves, which have these constant flame particle effects with the Psycho Power, which is also why you would see most people would pick Training Stage, because it would reduce the load on the consoles, leading to better performance. You would pair that PS4 slowdown plus Wi-Fi on this faulty netcode, and it was a show. So there was a lot of problems. The netcode should have been good enough to resolve those issues, but towards the end, the competitive scene figured out how to optimize it for their own experiences. So the end game was fine. But once again, 2016, everyone booting up their PS4, 8 frames of delay baked in before they resolved that in later seasons as well. It was bad. It was bad. Huh. This is interesting. I don't think I ever actually consciously knew this. This is funny. I don't think this matters. Yeah, I don't think this is I don't think this makes the game broken. But that's an interesting tidbit. That's an interesting tidbit of trivia. This wasn't part of the actual meta. I mean, these jab resets were used, but I didn't know actually that they had to whiff the first jab to do the second chain one to get the juggle. Now, characters and players did use that with certain characters. None of the characters I used ever relied on this, but this was a technique. I guess I thought that was a frame kill. I didn't know that you actually had to do that for the juggle. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, it wasn't a problem. All right. This was a real problem. Yes. This is the real Street Fighter 6 problem. Stop talking about crush counters. Stop talking about all the other bullshit. This is the problem of Street Fighter 5. This is what makes Street Fighter 5 broken. Single hit confirm lows, to me, were the thing I was the most sick of at the end of Street Fighter 5. I was like, man, I respect the skill for the single hit confirm low, but being glued to down back with the threat of dying from a random crouching medium kick felt really painful. And now everyone has a crouching medium kick that you don't need to hit confirm that will kill you out of nowhere with drive rush cancel. So that part did not go away. It just got kind of worse and more mindless to use. But this was definitely one of my least favorite parts of the game. Remains broken. Hit confirmable lows were a mistake. Maybe. I might agree with this. It's funny because, like I said, it took skill. You had to have a lot of awareness. I think Karin's was one of the easier ones to hit confirm, and I think you had to have better reactions to get the optimal conversions. And Punk was doing this pre-nerf or pre-buffs to the engine to reduce the input delay. Punk changed the game. Before Punk, there was no one hit confirming Karin crouching medium kick like that on the planet. He really showed the world how Street Fighter V could be played. Because prior to Punk, people swore up and down this game was mash crush counters and rob people. They swore. Like at the beginning of this video insinuated. This was the real truth of the game. Now, later on, other players got better at this, and they also reduced the input delay for the engine, and once we swapped to PC, everybody was hit confirming. I remember after Red Bull Kumite 2021, I was like, man, was this game designed around low input delay on PC? Because when I went back to offline for the first time and we're playing on PC, I'm playing against NL. And NL is hit confirming every single hit Kami crouching medium kick into drill. And I'm like, wait a minute. That one I think was a 15 frame confirm. It was one of the harder ones. And so I thought to myself, I was like, wait a minute. Were we supposed to be single hit confirming everything? It completely changes the flow of the neutral. You're glued to down back whenever they're in the crouching medium kick range. Very difficult to confirm Kami's one. And so that was the one where I was like, wait, that's next level. And I was like, did the devs have, was this Ono's vision? You know what I mean? Like, was this what we were supposed to be aiming for? Single hit confirming all these moves? Took a lot of skill and was risky, but it really changed how the game was played towards the end. Secret one frame special cancel and a stand medium kick. Huh. This is trivia. I didn't know anything about this. This character's a mess. I don't know if he's a mess. Did they nerf this move at one point? Dhalsim was rushing people's asses down with this move. Can't you just jab that? Dhalsim was top tier in 5, especially at the end. What did they nerf? Remember when Dhalsim players, all the NA Dhalsim players were hosting a funeral for Sim? And then he ended up being nerfed into top 1. What did they nerf? They nerfed something about him. He had a, I think they added the forced knockdown air juggle property to him. Was that what it was? But yes, Dhalsim had a lot of rushdown potential. This instant air blast was really strong for pressure. Also, he had his EX fireball would allow him to set up all these teleport mixes from almost anywhere on screen, and he could rush down with these types of moves. Had a really good dive kick as well. He was definitely a menace and a rushdown character for sure. He had both options for zoning and rushdown. This was one of the most busted moves in the game. See, the beginning just lures you guys in. They start talking about crush counters and all this stuff from 2016. These past 3 examples were the problems with endgame Street Fighter V. Hit confirmable lows, Dhalsim, and EX heart rate from Poison. Nothing to do with crush counters, everything to do with safe, confirmable, and oppressive ranged options. What up, SK? Full year? Hope you're doing well. Listen, we're taking a trip down memory lane. These are the depths we grinded in Street Fighter V. Get to the EX version. Yeah, so she can mix up the low, the anti-air, and then this move. Woo-wee. So the combination of her extremely strong heavy punch that you can see here that they're canceling into, that heavy punch was an amazing poke, special cancelable. You can whiff punish it, but it was hard to force to whiff to begin with. You would cancel that into EX heart rate, which was then +2 on block, and you notice the effect, it's pulling you in. You would activate this on block at a distance, at footsie range. It would pull you in, and suddenly you're in a strike throw mix-up out of nowhere. And if you teched and she frame trapped you, you died. So generally what the meta became here is you would just V-reversal on this to get the knockdown to avoid this. Because otherwise, you're getting grade damage while you're blocking this. I wish they showed the life bars, to be honest. There's grade damage in this game. When you block normals and special moves, your grade damage starts building up. So it's not even like you can just block the whole sequence and let them burn all the EX meter for plus frames. As they're making you block, the next throw is going to do more and more damage. I think they're downplaying the effects of this move right here. Therefore, blocking for longer increases the risk of the next throw that can potentially come from dealing with this sequence. So you can't just block. You're forced to take action at some point. And of course, it's an easy frame trap or an easy throw. Therefore, you often want to spend your meter to V reversal, which means you can no longer use V trigger because you're forced to save your meter, your V meter, for the defensive option, which would eliminate your option to use your offensive sequence. So poison would drain your resources, either draining your health with the grade damage, or you're forced to spend your offensive comeback potential on knocking her down for defense. And therefore, she could dominate again because she has complete control of the neutral and force you to block and take mix-ups while you are losing all of your defensive and offensive resources in return. Completely destroyed a huge meta of Street Fighter V. This was a messed up move. Oh, FANG still had the throw loop. They got rid of throw loops and brought him back for Street Fighter 6. Yo, FANG was sleeper top tier. Shoutouts to the Score Esports. How a low tier hero did the impossible with one of Street Fighter's worst characters. This is from CEO 2021. Mono went on to CEO to beat Punk in the first CEO back, maybe 2022, the first CEO back from COVID. And he won over Punk, which was a very big deal. 2 million views on this. Overall, a good thing for the FGC. FANG was not one of the worst characters post 2021. He was not a bad character. This is bull. He kept his throw loop when no one else had a throw loop. His pressure was so degenerate. He was very unorthodox and took a lot of expertise to master. Definitely a character specialist character, for sure. But his pressure, he was the biggest pressure monster in the game. had the most unique zoning patterns, crazy mix-up potential, and throw loops. So he was not, by the end of the game, FANG was not one of the worst characters. Absolutely not. A lot of the issues that plagued him in earlier seasons were nerfed, like all the degenerate crush counter nonsense, which ended up stabilizing his defense, which made him a lot more viable as well. And he kept getting buffs, and he kept his throw loop. So, yeah. Okay. Big Lightning knows ball. He knows ball. We're complaining about Sakura stand light kick? Facts. Y'all won me over with this one. You're gonna complain about some stand light kick? I'm with you on this one. Let's go. This light is longer than almost all of her mediums and heavies. Busted. Listen, I've been on this for quite some time. 4 years. I'm ahead of the game here. Double A and I have cooked up some legendary thumbnails in our time. I've seen this thumbnail pop up as a meme so many times randomly, like completely leaving its intended audience. Yeah, this standing light kick was massive range. 4-frame startup. Woo! Yeah, they didn't bring up the specific example, I think, of what makes it so good. At that range, at being 4-frame startup, it would punish things that most of the cast could not punish. So the reason why, as a Balrog player specifically, I hated that move, it made using dash punch, which was -4 on block, nearly impossible. From ranges where pretty much it would be safe against the entire cast, Sakura would block and get a punish to light kick, buffered into DP, which caused a knockdown. And Sakura's walk speed was really good, so it was so easy for Sakura to walk in and out of ranges to either make dash punch whiff or walk into range to block it so that it was punishable on block. So it essentially made that move almost impossible to use against Sakura. So that was like one of my biggest complaints in endgame Street Fighter V. It was so annoying as a ROG player to fight Sakura. Super, super strong move, that stand light kick. This definitely seems like it's more of a season 1 opinion. Tap. Okay. Let's see, from what season are you talking about? This is what I'm talking about with Street Fighter V. You'd have to make one of these per season. Let's see what they say. Let's see what they say. Because this move, you could do an hour-long retrospective about season 2 Balrog, for sure. The downplay begins? What are you talking about? No, there's no downplay. But it depends on what season they choose. Yeah, final was funny.
Fuck here. No. And both players near 50%.
Yeah, and no resources for LPN.
Oh, the air though.
Oh, the turnaround punch!
This is a classic, but you are lacking some context. In Season 2, ROG's tap was so broken because they changed the properties of tap. Pre-Season 2 and post-Season 2, tap was -2 on block no matter how long you held it. There's different levels of tap. As you went through the different levels, they gained different properties. In Season 2, they went buck wild, giving unique buffs to every single level of tap, and every few seconds you charged it by holding 2 attack buttons would be a different level. For some reason, usually it was just like, hey, if you get to level 4, you start doing some more damage, level 5, some more damage, and then final tap, level 10, that one will be invincible if you held it for nearly 60 seconds, cause a wall bounce, and kill them, because you're literally playing for 60 seconds without using 2 of your moves, and you have to land it one time when you release the 2 buttons. So it was kind of a gimmick, right? In Season 2, they said, you know what? For each level, we're going to make it a little less negative on block. And you know what? If you hit level 4, if you hit level 3, 4 seconds or so, I think it was, if our memory serves correct, it's 0 on block. If you hit level 4, suddenly it's +1 on block. And so on and so forth. And tap was throw invincible, meaning it was a reversal against throws. So think about that. If you have a level 4 tap stocked up and they go for pressure, they go for a throw, you could do level 4 tap and it would punish them for going for the throw. And if they didn't meaty you or just blocked or they whiffed a move because it had a hurt box shifting when it reeled back, you would be plus on block. And if you had V-trigger, you could V-trigger cancel and kill them because there was no V-trigger cancel scaling. And if you hit like level 6, it started to cause an air spin and so on and so forth. The properties just kept compounding. So in season 2, everyone was holding tap all the time because you could constantly drop these plus unblock taps that could approach. You can even just use it to get in. So you were constantly using tap. This was taken to the extreme where Javirog here, right? It was Javirog. He held tap for the entire time. See, it's 28 seconds on the clock. He was holding tap from round start. This is 60, 70 seconds in the making. He held tap this entire time, played without 2 buttons. This air reset occurred, and then he has now a fully invincible reversal that would beat throws. So if LPN went for a throw here, he for sure would beat it. But at I believe level 8 or 9 or 10, it was just fully invincible. I forget the properties of when they started adding more and more invincibility. LPN goes for a meaty. Rog doesn't have a traditional invincible reversal, so he's not expecting his meaty to whiff. It whiffs, and LPN doesn't realize he's not in block stun. He's probably trying to hold forward here and walk in for a tick grab, and his button just whiffs, and he walks face first into a final tap.
Hold it, turn around, punch.
And it counter hits. Yeah, he's going for a grab. You see that? He's going for a tick grab, and it just counter hits the shit out of him, and he dies. You stop seeing that after season 2, because from that point forward, they're like, wait a minute, we gave Balrog a nuke, and we got to get rid of that. So after season 2, they all went back to -2 on block, except for final tap. Only if you held final tap all the way for 60 seconds would you get frame advantage on block, and it would no longer be throw invincible. They got rid of all of that crap, and then they left some advantage. They left some goofy shit for final tap because you had to really commit to final tap. So only until Pugera started using V-Skill 2 Rog did you see final tap ever pop up again. It stopped being a thing. But season 2 Balrog was a tap machine, and it was absolutely broken. Season 2 Rog was a different beast, though. Yeah, Fire and Ice, Retribution. It was a cool system. This combo game was very good. V-Shift did mess up this mix a decent amount. I think there were still possibilities to deal with V-Shift, but without the hard knockdown potential there, it became kind of problematic for him. Yeah, he doesn't. I think the emphasis of the crush counters is definitely overblown. Not having crush counters makes his entire game plan a struggle. I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's the lights. And he's a cool character. I think Street Fighter V had a lot of really cool characters with unique effects. He could have been better, for sure. Yeah, this move was stupid. This move was very dumb. This is like what Balrog... This is what Balrog pre-tap used to be, or pre-nerf tap used to be. This is almost effectively what it was. At least it cost meter, unlike Balrog tap, but essentially they brought Season 2 tap in spirit with this move, which proved the degeneracy of it, right? So this is another move where you hold 2 buttons to build it up, and you hold, I believe, 3 buttons for the EX version, and you just got in. And Cody had a really amazing neutral on top of this. Almost like a combination of tap and Poison's EX heart rate. You were forced to V-reversal against this character, and it would just drain your resources. Oh yeah, the level 2? I forgot about this. I forgot about this. This really was EX tap. The wall bounce you got, I forgot about this, man. This shit was bullshit. It was super fast, came out of nowhere. At least tap had slower startup, like you could see it, the bomb approaching and block it. This thing would jump scare you. Look how fast it is. Dude, what? It's a jump scare. At least if it had slower startup, you could react and see it and block. You would literally just get sniped by this out of nowhere and die. You would get sniped by this out of nowhere and die. This was a problem that never got resolved. This should not have been like that. They should have nerfed the startup or something. Either get rid of the plus frames or nerf the startup. It was too fast. Way too fast. Yeah, definitely a bullshit move. And Cody was so solid even without this move. One of the best characters by the end of Street Fighter V. Lariat was dumb, yes. The story of how you can buff one character over and over through one degenerate move. Okay. I like the history lesson here. Yep. This is what I want to see. This is what I want to see. Thank you, Big Lightning. You cannot do a Street Fighter V retrospective without dragging it through the seasons, at least to some degree, or being very specific about endgame versus the beginning. This game went through massive changes, and maybe the Street Fighter VI audience doesn't understand. If you combine every single patch that Street Fighter VI has received in all 3 years it's been out, it does not come close to the number of changes as one balance patch from Street Fighter V. Maybe Street Fighter VI heads don't understand, but we used to get massive, yearly, detailed, complete changes to characters. New moves, new properties. It used to be a big moment every year. End of the CPT season, boom, that patch hits like crack. Like, oh shit. Let's go. It's Christmas. Either I got a present under the tree or I got coal in my stockings. What's it going to be? It used to be a big, massive change. You can't really talk about any... you can't do a retrospective of the game at any point without specifying the moment in time you're talking about the game. Lariat got buffed every single season, and by the end, it was such a one-note, obnoxious move. So by the end of the game's lifespan, I would argue Alex was actually a really good character without the Lariat buffs. It had a similar problem with Ed. Ed, they kept buffing Flicker because he was a fundamentally poor character. And by the end of the season, by the end of the game's lifespan, they resolved so many other issues with Ed, but they also made Flicker the most degenerate one-note move in the game. And then they added the OD extension version on top of it, which ended up just giving Ed massive combo damage and corner carry. But that would have made sense for the initial release version of Ed. But by the time they gave him that super degenerate centralizing move, he was already a well-rounded character. This also happened to Alex. They kept buffing Lariat, but also slowly making him a more well-rounded character. And by the end, he was well-rounded, but also had this busted ass Lariat. I don't think the rest of Alex is bad by the end at all. Plus 4 into command grab. Yep. Combos on hit. Command grab mix on block. Massive crush counter. The rest of him is as good as Lariat? No. Okay, I like the juxtaposition here. Okay. Every time I think you're out Big Lightning, you bring me back in. This is the same issue. This move deserves an award for how brainless it is. Facts. Wasn't it -2? I think they buffed it to -2. I don't think it's -3 in the final version. If I remember correctly, it's -2. So this move was a mash move on block. It used to be -4, I believe. At least -3, but maybe -4, because you could punish this originally when it first released. It might have been -3 and only 3-frame jab characters can punish, but I can't remember. But it was punishable. Then they kept increasing the pushback to make it harder to punish, so you could space it. Then they increased the pushback, but also made it safe on block to begin with, so that you couldn't even take your turn back. Then at the very end of the game's lifespan, it got to the point where you could just spam this move multiple times in a row, and people would get frame trapped by it, because it had so much pushback that it was ambiguous what move you could press to force him into block zone to stop mashing it, and it would just happen over and over again. And if it hit, you could extend with the EX extension into a full knockdown. Yeah, -2 at the end. Yeah, see the pushback? Oh my god. This is probably not even the best example. Yeah, you see how you got the EX version of it? I hope he pulls up the clip of Ending Walker versus Fudo. Mika's ass. Where are you going with that one? Yeah, this example he pulled up quickly of the Punk versus Ending Walker is not even the best part of it. So this is a good example, right? Just kind of 1, 2, 3, jab, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The spacing, trap, and timing made it almost impossible to take your turn back. But I saw Ending Walker in the final Topanga League Worlds for Street Fighter V before Street Fighter 6 came out. He mashed this move at least 5 times in a row on Fudo. I'm not jab into it, not a different variation. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it's that good against the best players on the planet. Yeah, they nerfed Mika's ass slap. What does it say? First and foremost, it's a product still in development, so things get tweaked as we go along. If something could be considered going too far, then we might have to scale things back. We work very closely with the ESRB to make sure we're a teen-rated franchise, and that's the primary driving factor, he said. There it is, right from the source. Capcom felt that the sequences in question could be considered a threat to the game's teen rating. This was nerfed after Season 1, though. They adjusted the camera angle in Season 2. Am I remembering correctly? I think this was in the game for EVO 2016 when Mika was like top 1 in the game was the first season. It was before launch? Oh, okay. It was before launch. They're from beta. Okay. Well, they made a good call because I don't know, would this have made it onto to ESPN for that first EVO? The 2016 EVO was on ESPN. I'm not going to freeze frame whatever that was. That's weird that it doesn't work on every kick. They saw Esports World Cup coming. Maybe. Yeah, Tundra Storm versus Rog. Classic. I would disagree. That's one of the worst moves in the game. I think that move inspired a complete psychopathic army of Zangief mains to express their gambling addiction through this character. So, in my view, that move was probably a big win for Capcom. It still exists in Street Fighter 6 today. Oh, Blanka time stop. This is actually broken, but they nerfed this within a week. This existed for a very short period of time. People would go into ranked and do this for a very short period of time. And then it was removed from the game because it was a glitch. Abigail used to be a menace, but has since been humbled to bottom 1. He definitely wasn't great or good in the last season. Bottom 1? You think Abigail's bottom 1, broski? So he could have been tied for bottom 1. You can make that argument. Doesn't mean you wouldn't get your ass beat by an Abigail. He did have a problem with jump-ins. You needed to use the V-skill parry for the jump-ins. Yeah, but that could be exploited. Yep, that's fair. Yeah, the strategy with Oro against Abigail was just jump heavy punch over and over. And sometimes what would happen is you would jump in the front with Oro jump heavy punch, and he would activate the parry, and you would just phase through behind him, and it would whiff. Oh, they made that unsafe, right? I forgot they did that. No, that's fair. -4 was definitely an important frame data marker. Okay, but you're not gonna hold on. You're not gonna go into EX Abigail punch there and not talk about activating V trigger, right? This is definitely the Abigail main section. This is okay. You gotta slow down here. You gotta slow down here. Absolutely garbage with no redeeming qualities. You didn't talk about V trigger once. Seth V School 1 was so sick. Seth was such a sick character in Street Fighter V. I really want to reiterate how interesting the final cast of characters was in this game. Starting with Gill, Seth, Dan, Rose, Oro, and I don't think I'm missing any other characters. They really knocked it out of the park in the end. Yeah, I think that's the complete list of characters for the final stretch of Street Fighter V. And they really knocked it out of the park. They all had really interesting character-specific mechanics, interesting playstyles, and they were good. Like they were decent at the game. So, I mean, Seth was broken on release. They had to nerf the axe kick and everything. And they had to buff up Rose and Oro, but they made them pretty viable all at the end, decent strength, and I think they were really, really interesting. And Seth V-Skill 1 was so fun to play with. Pre-nerf Seth was degenerate as fuck. His axe kick was absolutely broken in top 1, so all you would do is axe kick, so that was a problem. They did not nail the balance on release with that. But once they nerfed that and they nailed the balance, Seth was really technical and really cheap in the right moments, but also extremely expressive and had a lot of character and matchup specific tech to make the character very interesting. Yeah, that was a really cool move. Really cool to start learning these unique character-specific combo extensions. Yeah, dude, axe kick extensions, Menat V-Trigger or Menat V-Skill. There we go. There we go. Let's see it. Send it out. Bring it back in. You're looping them. Let's go. I landed this combo in ranked, the full version in ranked one day. I have a clip of that. I was so happy to finally land it. It was a good V-Skill. Character was a lot of fun. I really dislike long-ass combos like that. Well, that's fair. People have different tastes. I really enjoy that kind of a combo. But you have to remember that that combo required Seth to land the V-Skill and then required Seth to get the conversion near the corner, right? There's like 2 layers of requirements that made that situation extremely rare. So it's not like they landed a low forward drive rush cancel from any hit, put you in the corner, and rinse and repeat the same sequence without any matchup-specific knowledge or situational confirmation, right? So that kind of a combo, you would see 1 in 1,000 times. You have to see that specific matchup first of all, then you'd have to see a player good enough to know the combo, and then also to have the V-Skill stored and also land the hits in the corner as well. There's so many layers of requirements that it becomes like a really niche application, so that when you finally see it, you're like, oh shit, it all came together, right? So I think that is a big defining factor for long combos. And Seth, I think, dialed that in, right? I think the problem with long combos is often like when every single hit converts into a similar looking, extremely long combo. Yeah, it's a problem. And I think, honestly, Street Fighter 6 has that problem. Yeah. I don't remember this V-Skill too. I don't remember this V-Skill too at all. Okay, I knew about the run follow-up. That was actually pretty decent. People use that, but I don't remember the air version of it at all. I really don't remember that. Hold up. Okay. So first of all, this is a pretty important note to make. This is what I'm saying. We gotta do a retrospective of Street Fighter V season by season, because so much of this game has determined the legacy and the game philosophy of Street Fighter going forward for the franchise, including Street Fighter 6, right? We don't have meterless reversals in Street Fighter 6 because of Street Fighter 5. This was not implemented on release. This was post Season 1 into Season 2. They got rid of meterless invincible reversals. In Season 2, suddenly your non-meter DP no longer was invincible. You had to spend EX. That was a massive change. Very controversial. Very controversial even to this day. Personally, in the context of Street Fighter 5, I thought it was a great change. I thought that change was great because throw loops were in the game, and the way offense was structured, especially in the early seasons, was so oppressive that it created such a have and have nots situation where you had to have an invincible reversal, meterless, in order to play the game. So I thought that, like, dude, that was a great change. So this was this required matchup knowledge to stop. You could stop this. Backs. Yeah. Cartwheel after the anti-air. And then you get mixed. No parry to save you there. Okay, let's go. Actual God V skill. Dan was a beast in this game. What a creative take on the character, right? Like this V skill that allowed him to cancel his normals into each other, enhanced his pressure to crazy degrees, was extremely unique, had a bit of execution requirement, was risky in case you messed up the pressure, and it fit perfectly into his character. It fit perfectly into his character. It made him super strong, but if you messed it up, you would do a stupid taunt move and get punished. And it was goofy and oppressive. Like, I don't know. I feel like that the Street Fighter V take on Dan is so good, not just from a gameplay design, but from a character design. Really, really great character, in my opinion.
Here you go. Yep, right here.
Cody was such a problem, dude. He really was one of the best characters in the game. S tier, for sure, at the end. Sway shut down a lot of fireballs. I forgot about that. Playing against Cody with Oro was so painful. Cody stand MK, yeah, great buttons. Just like he was too solid to have all these messed up moves on top of that. This V-trigger was scary as hell, but it was kind of cool. Like, at least he had all these unique mechanics, right? Hold on, before we go even further, this doesn't touch on the whole concept of V-trigger as a whole. This isn't just a 2016 perspective video, because if this was a 2016 perspective video, the first line would have been, characters in Street Fighter V lose half their special moves until they activate V-trigger to have them for a few seconds. Where did that catchphrase, where did that canned response, canned criticism, that talking point from Street Fighter V originate? On what fucking planet do you want Cody to permanently have a pipe that he beats the shit out of you with, kicks rocks around, and command grabs you into the air and does 50% of your stun bar out of nowhere? I'm sorry, that blanket criticism of Street Fighter V saying it locked special moves, like important parts of characters' movesets behind V-trigger, I think is a complete unfair mischaracterization. You wanted Balrog to be able to infinitely dash punch people? Yeah, I think Balrog is cool, but it sucks that he can't just do dash punch into 5 Rekka follow-ups forever. That's the kind of take that you have from an audience that is actually not going to play the game more than 30 minutes. It's from a casual audience who wants to see big, flashy move and then move on because the game will be broken as fuck and won't be fun when you start getting hit by all the bullshit from people who actually practice more than you and you never get to play. And that game is DNF Duel.
some fun.
Yeah, this was messed up. Oh my god. You wanted Cody to be doing the rock mix-ups? I forgot about the hard knockdown from the command grab. No, I forgot about this. Toss the rock up, it would hit you meaty, or he goes for another command grab.
Let's have some fun.
Oh god. And this did so much stun, by the way.
Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun.
Messed up.
Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun.
Messed up. But to me, that's okay to have sometimes. G's V-Trigger 1 might have been the example of that people hated the most, though, for having bullshit V-Trigger activations. I love G, sick character. But his low activation was very bad, very degenerate. Can someone remind me, did they nerf his activation so that you could V-reversal on one of them? Did they ever change the properties? So the low was the least advantageous. So I think you could V-reversal and you wouldn't eat a command grab, if I remember correctly. And then the mid one, EX Rush Punch, had more advantage, so you couldn't V-reversal. But did they ever change the activation to make it less effective, like the frame properties? I feel like there was a patch that limited that. Can't remember. It got nerfed to that? Okay, right, that makes sense. Yeah, so they nerfed it so that you could V-reversal safely the low one and only eat a regular grab, which was pretty good. Okay, that's what they did, yeah. But that was one of the big talking points. Exactly, plus 10 on the mid. You hold the command grab or hit confirm. You don't even have to do that. You could just do heavy punch. On this plus 10 here on the activation, you would just press heavy punch, and if they tried to jump, it would keep them grounded, and it's an easy hit confirm into the rush punch. So you would just press it, and it was safe on block. And you wouldn't have to waste your V-trigger timer by confirming into the special if it hit. You would just do nothing, or do like fireball into something for a block string. So you can get massive damage here. Just heavy punch, hit confirm, or command grab. 50-50 for the game. Is Karin, thanks for that fresh prime. Appreciate it. You can do heavy punch into heavy punch, right, Daniel? You just do it twice. I love this character. G was one of the best additions to Street Fighter 5, for sure. Like, we need more dumb, goofy characters like G. He's just about being the president of Earth. He's just committed to the bit. Why? What's his motivation? What's his platform? What's he running for? What does he believe in? What are his principles? It doesn't matter, baby. It's Super Tuesday. He's about to light it up, and he's the president of Earth. That's all you got to know. And then give him a sick theme. G's theme was baller.
Bitch, I live in a fucking trash
What's his spaceship about? G was an alien. I'm not joking. G was a alien sent to planet Earth. He's an alien in a spaceship, and when he shoots the ground with his super, he shoots a laser beam into the ground, and that causes magma to shoot from the core of the Earth to assault you. When he does light it up, I'm telling you, this guy is all powerful. And the fact that they don't tell you anything about him makes it so sick. I want more characters like this. Just a complete caricature. Just baller quotes, catchphrases on demand. And he's just the president of Earth. That's it, man. That's it. This is what people were talking about when they call a V-Trigger a robbery mechanic. Yeah, for sure. For sure. But look how sick it is, dude. Listen.
Bitch,
Would you...
I live in a fucking trash can.
You've been hit by this. You've been in the corner, touched by a character, and put to the other corner and died. It could be this, with an instant fuzzy jump light kick into the V-skill orb V-trigger drag down into a full combo conversion, into the V-trigger activation, into the read on the command grab jump away, into the low, into the meaty fireball whiff to fake you out, into the Kara cancel command grab. Okay, it could be that. or it can be like low forward drive rush into the corner. I don't know, man. You can. I'm just saying, like, it could just be low forward drive rush. You know, it's gonna happen one way or the other. Who's this? I really did not like Akira in this game. So yeah. Yeah, Akira was a big misstep in my opinion. I did not like Akira. I did not like her dumb face. I don't like her weird bad posture, her forward head posture, not a fan. And this V-trigger was busted and I didn't like it. I think they did pretty good at making the V-triggers a lot more interactive towards the end and making them not feel as much of like a dumb coin flip robbery. But this one was a coin flip. There was counterplay. You had to figure out a bit of how to deal with the mix-ups and mitigate the risk reward. But I didn't like it. Akira slander from my streamer. I never liked this character. Her and Luke were big missteps in Street Fighter V at the end. But that's just my taste. It's fine. She wasn't the end of the world. This basically became a big mix, you know. Like I said, there were mechanics you could use and ways to mitigate the risk reward, but you really had to know the matchup. It looks cool, yeah, but it was one of those moments where you literally just, she calls it and you just die on a coin flip. The Capcom Cup mix. This character has terrorized all of NA for years. I mean, one person specifically. Let's be real. I mean, there was other good North American Lauras. Mylin was out there doing work.
Bitch, I live in a fucking trash can.
But Idom was fucking us all up for too long with this character. Marine did some work too. She got, who did she get? She got Dogura and Eita. But yeah, this V-trigger was nuts. The risk reward on this and the flexibility she had for the mix was ridiculous. But like, to be fair to the lores everywhere, it really was only Idom at that level. Really was only Idom. Aegis definitely fell off towards the end. What was the final nail in the coffin? What was the final nerf they gave to it? Didn't they make it so that if you interrupt him, it doesn't leave the mirror out? V-Shift nerfed it, yes. But also, like, if you hit him on the second mirror, it canceled it? Wasn't there a change where it doesn't activate fully if you intercept him? Yeah, you could trade it. So, a lot of factors kind of nerfed Urien towards the end, but this was super gnarly pre-V-Shift and pre-nerfs. Are we gonna get some stones in here? We haven't seen Oro once yet. I don't even know what this is. Let's see. I've been hit by that before. Yep, it was a pretty good whip punish tool in anti-air. I think, you know, this V-trigger was bullshit, but Urien, I think it took a master to understand all the situations you could apply the Aegis. I think it had a really high skill ceiling. The skill floor was maybe a little bit too low. Overall, it was worth the trade-off because I think there was a lot of skill expression at the highest level to really maximize the utility, and there's a lot of variation in this character. Yeah, I think you're right, broski. Getting the Aegis activation off of EX Tackle was pretty dumb. Speaking of skill expression, Dude, you had to be some kind of freak to figure out Menat's V-Trigger 1. This requires way too much skill for me to learn it for a 20-second video segment. Exactly. 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 You're not just going to learn Menat V-Trigger 1 combos. You're not. The fact that every orb is tied to a negative edge of every strength of button while you have to actually pilot the main character and figure out a way to optimize and sync them together, this had infinite skill expression. And you would see that with people like Sako. This was like one of the last times we saw Sako really be Sako. He was doing things like picking up with raw orb activation, negative edging. That sounds crazy. Using negative edge with the orbs to just like clip them with specific orb releases and then pick up from different confirmations with that. So you could like poke and confirm without actually risking any buttons. And yeah, it was just crazy. Like you could not just learn this. You could not pick this up and just do it. You'd have to spend hours and hours and hours and hours to learn these Menat combo routes. Some of these are easier than others. And some of them were insanely hard. So crazy with the 17. Thank you. Shuggy with the 23. Castno with the 34. Thanks, everybody. Who's that? Let's go, baby. The GOAT. Oro time. You can get his strongest combos going from almost any starter. Kind of. Highest damage output in the game? Is that true? In an optimal situation, did Oro have the highest damage output? He had among the highest consistent damage output because you could very consistently get into super high damage output. Was there anyone else who could do more damage in an optimal situation? Oh, 5 Game Boys? Okay, well, that's also gimmick territory. Yeah. 5 Game Boys is a 1 in a billion chance of happening. That's not going to happen, really. Or, I guess it did happen. But 5 Game Boys plus an actual optimal starter, that's not going to happen. Yeah, if you include max RNG, I think that goes to gimmick territory. There's nothing practical you could do to kill. Yes, sir. Instant air chicken feet. These combos were so sick. You got to respect the stones. DP. Chicken. Who's that? Why is this my legacy? I don't know what happened. For some reason from Street Fighter V, what has lasted into the next generation, the Zoomers have picked up and carried on, is the epic win Urien meme and the rage quit let's go. I don't understand in what circles this started to like generate buzz, but I've seen this clip pop up. Like usually the only time I see these clips pop up, it's usually from like Strive Twitter. And I mean Strive Twitter in the sense that they're younger, right? It's like the younger generation of FGC people that I think mainly got into the FGC later in COVID era with Strive. It's not from like the actual people who were in the trenches playing Street Fighter V. It's like the next generation that came for the next wave of FGC titles. And then for some reason, these clips have gone platinum. All I can imagine is this being shared back and forth on like Discord servers to like talk shit between each other, like with friends
Rage quit,
when they're playing
go.
sets.
You suck ass. Hold that shit forever. Absolute garbage dumpster tier scrub.
Let's get started with it already.
I send it to people. See, I guess I don't talk to people on Discord, so I don't really understand that culture. But I think that's what's been happening. I think it's like used to like meme with your digital friends in your Discord servers and talk shit. Because when it popped up on Twitter, it's like people recognized it already. And I had not seen it being shared on Twitter. It popped up on Twitter and people were acting like they already knew the clip. And I was like, what the fuck? Why is this still around? Luke was a problem. As the final DLC character, Luke was intentionally overtuned to promote Street Fighter 6. Probably. I think that was a theory. That's a theory I put forward as well at the time. That's a theory I think most people ascribe to. That was never proven. Never proven. No comments. There was no actual leads from any of the developers or anything like that. I do believe I talked to Nakamura-san at not Evo, Capcom Cup, the final one for Street Fighter V. I do believe I got him in the after party a little bit like, hey man, what's up with Luke? I was like, hey man, is Luke strong for a reason? You know, I didn't get any direct confirmation either way or the other, but I feel like he caught my drift, and he's like, maybe. No actual commentary from the devs on this, but the leading theory is Luke was backported into Street Fighter V because of the delay of Street Fighter 6 and all the development issues caused by COVID. He was not intended for Street Fighter V. In fact, the whole final season of Street Fighter V was never intended. So actually, in a weird way, we got a big gift because I think that final season of Street Fighter V really elevated the game, aside from Luke. But we got characters like Dan, Rose, and Oro out of it, which are 3 of the best characters in Street Fighter V, in my opinion. So in a weird way, we really got a gift. I really enjoyed that final season of Street Fighter V. And he was backported. His design was already created for Street Fighter 6, and they backported him into Street Fighter V. Yeah, everyone's tier list had Luke as number 1. So as everyone's tier list had Luke as number 1, the big problem was all the top players started to centralize and started to pick Luke. Luke was starting to replace a lot of character specialists because it was like, why would I play X, Y, or Z character when I could play Luke? That was a big problem with the end game of Street Fighter V. So many varied characters that were super strong, but the problem was Luke was just better at being an all-rounder than everybody else was. Yeah, these forward advancing normals, which were designed for Street Fighter 6. Yep. Balrog's 3-frame was pretty balanced, huh? That's true. Crushing MK was goated. Yep, single hit confirms. I forgot about back medium punch. He doesn't even have this move in Street Fighter 6. Yeah, they haven't even talked about his fireball yet. Hit scan fireballs. This is where it all begins. I mean, there's obviously the trade-off, as you're seeing here, that these projectiles don't go full screen, and they did have slow startup. But you didn't have any way to navigate around the fireballs or often use traditional anti-fireball tools because there was no recovery on them and no travel speed. Normally with faster startup but like longer recovery and some travel speed, think about Balrog's V-Skill. You could walk up to the fireball and then V-Skill around it and then punish them. But because his had a really slow startup with an instant travel speed and good recovery, by the time you could get around the projectile, he's already recovered, or you're just getting smacked in the face by it. Even for things like Zangief Heavy Punch, which could maybe absorb the projectile and get in, right? Yeah, laser beam that knockdown, and then wait till his V-Trigger 1. It's hit scan? Exaggeration, but it's almost like that. That's an exaggeration. Yeah, his damage was just too high also. I forgot about this. The fireball was designed around parry for sure? Yeah, absolutely. That's a good analysis. It was designed around parry. Yeah, light combos just depleted your life bar out of nowhere. His damage output was insane. Wait, didn't he get his V-trigger back? I forgot about this bullshit. I forgot about this. I forgot about this. Yeah, he loses meter for getting hit, sure. But he gets it back, and the problem is you're not going to hit him because he has V-trigger 1. So the V-trigger 1 was this, like, the best fireball in the game. Or was that V-trigger 2? I forget which one it was. But... yeah, it's resembling drive gauge, but it doesn't work for Street Fighter V. Yeah, the V-trigger 1 is a fireball. You're not getting in. That thing sniped you and immediately pushed you full screen. Oh, I can't believe they thought that was a good idea. Yeah, it confirms from his pokes, confirms from his fireballs, lets him do any button into the V-trigger. This guy was too much. Yeah, it's essentially like his level 1 super, yeah. This idea is kind of cool, actually. His V-Trigger 2, which did not make a return. The V-Trigger 2 was actually the cooler idea. The V-Trigger 1 was too strong. His zoning, his anti-air game, and his keep away is too strong for how strong his offense was. That was the big problem, in my opinion. His V-Trigger 2 could exist in Street Fighter V. At least he was a healthy kind of top 1 character where it basically won every matchup 5.5, 4.5. Yeah, I think if Luke's damage was nerfed and they nerfed some of his zoning capabilities, added recovery, and got rid of that whole regen on V-Trigger 1, he could have been okay. He could have been okay. But it was enough of, hey, I'm just slightly better than everybody at everything, that a lot of top players started switching to him. It was a centralizing kind of top tier. That was his issue. Too well-rounded. And I do think just like a damage nerf would have been okay. It would have helped. Yeah, his V-Trigger 2 is kind of cool. That was all your life, by the way.
You felt that?
Yeah, his routing was perfect. There was no bad combo route. It was a trip. I agree, Big Lightning. It did have an incredibly rough launch. Agreed! Agreed. See, I told you, they always want to lure you in with the most controversial and the most provocative statements up front. It was a great game in the end. It really was. Possibly the greatest comeback story in fighting game history. Is there another game that started as shit as Street Fighter V and ended as good as it did? I think Street Fighter V was definitely a great game at the end. I enjoyed the way the neutral operated. I felt like it was a very stable and solid competitive game to participate in. And I think it had enough sauce and grime to also keep you engaged, and enough character variety and character specialists. And even amongst character specialists, I think there was different takes on playstyles with using different V-skill and V-trigger loadouts as well. And there were still like those oddball players that you would run into that would use the weaker combination of V-skills and V-triggers for a character that would give you a different experience, even if it wasn't the optimal experience, optimal gameplay necessarily to win competitively. And I really enjoyed it. Like any game, you get pissed off, there's bullshit, and Luke was a problem. And there was a few other not so great spots at the end of Street Fighter V for sure, like any fighting game. But I think the end of Street Fighter V had a lot to offer and a lot to delve into, and I really enjoyed it. And a character like Oro, I feel like you could play for years and still find more tech and nuance and optimizations to work towards. Same thing with a character like Rose, Dan, Menat, whatever. And I really enjoy those things, and I feel like that's a really great aspect of fighting games, is giving you this sandbox to really explore and develop and investigate a character and the engine and its nuances to its utmost ability. And Street Fighter V didn't really start with a lot of that, but it ended with a lot of that. And I really appreciate that game for that, in that sense. So I think it's unfortunate that the narrative of the game, especially, is all about the piss poor launch, which it deserves that backlash, and that should never be repeated again by Capcom or any developer. But I will always be singing its praises towards the end, because I think it was a great game at the end. I really think that. And I think a lot of people missed out. It's all Capcom's fault. It's all the devs' fault. They messed up the launch. They defrauded the consumer. So they, it's an issue with how the product was released from the get-go. But I think it's just an unfortunate way how that ended up. But if you got into the game late with Championship Edition, I think you got a great product with a great value proposition. And I think the majority of the issues with the game were fixed. And I thought it was really good. It's like you said with 2XKO, hard to beat a first impression. Indeed. I think 2XKO has a much better shot than Street Fighter V did. It's not over for 2XKO, but they need to pick up the ball for sure. I honestly feel that way. I'm concerned about 2XKO. They need to hit the ground running fast. So Street Fighter V, it really missed the boat with the launch. That's true. It was a really interesting time. As much as I've lost brain cells and lost my mind playing this game, there was a lot of good and bad along the way, and I'll always appreciate the memories that Street Fighter V gave me. I got to travel the world, play a lot of people, got to play some of my favorite fighting game players and people who've inspired me for years playing this game, and got to make a lot of content and meet a lot of people like you through this game. So I will always appreciate Street Fighter V for that. Good video. Shoutouts to Big Lightning. Why Street Fighter V is broken. Check out the video. Please support the original creator. If this makes it to YouTube, it'll be linked as well in the description. Check it out.